Salam alaikum. Hey, boom. Voices from the mountains, live. خدا کنه خوب باشین، جور باشین. I hope everyone is well. Hope everyone, personal life and outside of personal life, they're well and happy, or at least trying to be happy. We have a very special episode today, a mashup podcast with Diaspora Passing. These two amazing ladies, amazing artists and activists will be joining us. Hopefully, it work out. They've been having some issues recently with their live sessions on Insta. So just giving you a heads up. If for some reason it doesn't work, then we'll have to go on to Zoom or something to pre-record this thing, and then we'll post it on Voices from the Mountains. Nothing really recent, hey? Everything has going same as it was. Only the trends have actually changed. I've noticed that there are the old trends is looking to kind of die off. It's kind of dying. The whole trends of the northern resistance or refugees. Walaikum salam, blingigak. Okay, beautiful. I'm just gonna bring you on, and then we'll wait for Miss Mina. So, fingers crossed. All right, salam.
How are you?
Good morning. Whoa.
Okay. So I don't know if just because you accepted me that this is gonna work. That's not like how the censorship works. The censorship starts messing up like in 10 minutes. That's
okay, let's hope that they like my face more than yours, so they will just allow us to do this.
Yeah.
I doubt that though. I really doubt that. That's not possible, but okay. We'll see how we go. How you been? I'm sorry to wake you up this early morning. You're in Uzbekistan at 7:30 in the morning.
That's okay.
And you look like you are prepared. I mean, you look all nice and dolly, so you kind of probably woke up earlier.
Well, I woke up at 6:30 so I could work out. I want the workout to be done.
Ah, okay. Early riser. That's a very good habit. عقل سالم در بدن سلیم. Have you heard this one? عقل سالم در بدن سلیم? No. It was in the very elementary school books in Afghanistan. A healthy mind lives in a healthy body.
Read his. So you think?
Sorry?
So you think that saying is true?
Yes, of course. 110%. I believe that.
Can I see what this earring is?
Which one?
Is it an earring or is it
Oh, are you going to steal my ideas now? Hey, it's all yours. Okay, take it. Oh, you have hoops? I've got my hoops. We both have our own hoops. It's a hoopsy day. It's a very hoop day.
Wow. Cool. You once told me that you would never wear hoops. So.
I never said. Well, yeah, not as big as yours.
I said that it wouldn't be that big.
Well, if you send me anything, for sure I will wear it.
Okay. Sounds good.
You know how much respect and love I have for you, my master. My master.
All right. It looks like Miss Mina's here.
Yes, it looks like. Let's see if she would give us the privilege to join us as well. She might be just luring around and just
looking from outside. Oh, she wants to. Okay, here we go.
Great.
Here we go. Damn. All right.
It kind of makes you like frustrated and pissed off when the censorship stuff happens.
Hi.
Salam.
Hello,
Shaka,
guys. How are you?
we're very good. How are you?
I'm good.
You
I'm
look-
good. Good morning. Good night. What time is it in Australia?
It's morning. It's 10:30, but it's not as early as it's for Blingigake, man.
Oh,
He's the only one whose time it's normal, right? It's like 7 o'clock in the morning here. It's 10 at night for you.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome to pajama time.
Hey, you look like a rock star. Okay, that's a very rock star look.
At night, I look like a rock star. That's the thing. All the other lives are during the day, right? Like people have only met 11 a.m. me. So at night, I am absolutely a rock. I'm Axl Rose at night.
Oh, that's it. The Axl Rose. All right, I like that. There was this proverb d'Afghanistan. چطور روز پلنگ شو روز ملنگ شو پلنگ روز ملنگ شو پلنگ.
That's
Yeah.
I think I live up to that. I'm kidding. I'm usually asleep by now. That's all.
Okay. All right. So in my defense, I spoke to you ladies both, and I requested you what time suits you. And I would have done it anytime. So stop blaming the men here.
All right, gentlemen. I was just explaining my hair. We're okay with this. We're gonna do this. I'm happy to see that the live is working. I was prepared for Zoom, but it's good to see you guys live here. How are you?
Which I have no idea how to work it. All right, so first 15 minutes, we will just go our Afghan greeting, right? So, چطور هستین؟ خوب هستین؟ همسایه خوب است؟ همسایه خوب است؟
دیگه چطور هستین؟
دیگه چطور هستین? Exactly. Everyone is doing well? Everyone is doing well. Good to see that. Bale?
Everyone's doing well.
Everyone is doing well. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for coming on. This is a good mashup. I'm really excited for this. Those which I highly doubt who don't know Diaspora Passing, which I highly doubt again. But so this is a mashup podcast we have. Voices from the Mountains with Diaspora Passing. With our two legendary ladies here, who are more manly than men, and who are more charming than any women. The artists, the activists, and love of all for everyone, one for all. Thank you very much. Welcome. Hope you two are doing well. I'm doing well as well, as you can see, as usual, as always. So we're gonna go quickly over a couple of questions from you guys. You can ask me a couple of things if you liked, if you wanted to, because this is kind of a crossover episode we're doing, and then we'll slowly get to our very serious conversations. Very serious. Okay. So have your black tea or green teas ready. I've got my wine here ready. So we good to go. Hey.
Okay.
Good to go.
All right. Boom. So, Diaspora Passing in one sentence. What is it?
That's kind of simple.
It's a bridge. I give you one word. Forget about one sentence.
It's a bridge. Okay. All right. A bridge between
Watan and the diaspora.
Watan and diaspora. Beautiful. Okay. So if diaspora was a person, what was the main message from that person? The main message.
Diaspora was a person.
Shukar Koka, I didn't say what would have been the gender. Of course, a woman. Come on.
Why?
Diaspora?
Why?
Why would diaspora be a woman?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying diaspora passing. Sorry, so diaspora
Oh,
passing. If it was a person, right?
the
A
passing
woman
word is
because
really important. I thought we were
yes,
talking about
sorry.
diaspora in general right
No,
now.
no, 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 no. I have
Do
no information.
you know
Okay.
why it's passing? Because we pass as diaspora, but we have lived experience in within. That's the word.
Okay.
If it was one person, it would be a mashup in Mina.
I like that. That would actually look cool. That would actually look really nice. And as I said, it would have been a woman because it always makes sense. It always
Well,
makes
yeah,
sense.
it is strong and intelligent.
Unbiased, empathetic, for sure. Empathetic, very.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's actually one of our one of the things that Miss Lovely Miss Shamail and I have in common is that we both feel really strongly that especially in our community, Afghan men are not credited enough. So, you know, even making a joke that we're glad that it's women, we get sensitive about that because it's so common amongst us to just, oh yeah, I will lend you my flag to wipe it because we're talking about Watan. Wipe your
Uy,
tears
baka
of
namor din.
joy. Yeah, but really, like, that's why we would, if you said man, we'd be like, why is it a man? And if you said woman, we'd react that way too, just because we're really proud of both men and women in our community.
Okay, okay. We can make a hybrid then. I have a hybrid of a man and a woman, which is a soul. So
Twins.
It's a soul. It's a soul.
Yeah.
It's a soul. It's a spirit. Okay. Diaspora passing. Now I'm going to really specify diaspora passing. Right.
Mm.
Team song. What's a team song? Team song for diaspora passing.
Well,
It would be like a mass Afghani song.
definitely.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of mass Afghani songs. Like what?
I know. Which one would it be? I'll have to think.
But because it's a bridge, right? And we are bridging both those worlds, maybe it would have to be a genre that isn't typically Afghan music. Maybe it would be something like Afghan rock. Maybe we know the artist.
What?
I mean, that's what,
Come on, Afghanistan rock. Come on. This is not Afghanistan.
that's the whole beauty of the bridge, right? And so I think that would reflect our aspirations very nicely.
Fair enough.
Great.
Okay. Great answer. As always, thank you for saving Shamoil as well, because she was like, I have to think now. Oh, I can't think of anything. I've gone blank.
The section at the beginning is always the part that I find the most difficult in these 2 times that I've done a live with you, because it's these rapid questions that I never
exactly.
Diaspora passing. What gender?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's super interesting.
Get your hearts racing. I see you guys. My heart is already racing anyway. So compliments. Take it. With all respect. Due all respect. All right. Okay. So the last one.
Okay.
How did you two decide to do it? You guys knew each other? How did it actually came up?
Oh, do you want to tell it? It's a lot of divine intervention that brought us together.
Divine. I love that. Please explain. Okay, let's go. Yeah. Divine, divinity.
I was kind of told by a few people to start messing around with TikTok for Blingistan stuff, like as a way to make like almost like advertisements for Blingistan. Okay. And I went on TikTok and I found it too complicated to learn another social media. So what I was doing was just watching Afghan content all the time. And one of the things that kept coming to me was Miss Mina. And I was like, this woman is saying things that I've only said behind closed doors, or saying it even better than I ever could. And we started kind of speaking, and we realized we had all these mutual friends in common and things like that. And then it was this one long conversation where this got kind of brought, this idea started, the seed kind of got implanted.
I'll give you some behind the scenes information too. Firstly, I was on TikTok for like 5 minutes because I also had this like random calling to start. I don't know why, but I just felt like I needed to talk to Diaspora because I was seeing the disconnect so clearly after I got back to I guess after I, against my will, was back in Canada. I just really needed to still feel connected to Afghanistan again. And I thought, okay, like, but Diaspora is hard to connect to because they're missing so much. That's a little background. But when I saw a comment from Miss Blingistan on one of my TikToks, I was like, Blingistan knows me? And then she wrote kind of the same thing back. And so we fangirled each other for a second, which I just couldn't even believe she knew who I was. I knew of her. And we, like she said, we have people in common. Oh, is she frozen? No, she's back. So yeah, we had people in common.
She's always cold anyway, not frozen.
She was frozen and cold. My favorite part though was that we both asked our common friend about each other. Like, is she cool though? We both on the same day called the same friend. We've never talked about this, but I called her and you called her and I was like, all right, she seems great. What's the problem though? We both asked like, what's the big red flag? Warn me. And she's a great friend of both of ours and said, no, you two are going to love each other. And it's all love and it's all good. And we just kind of needed that little check mark. So I don't know, it just gave me a real sense of like, it's already family. Like it happened so quickly that now we make these jokes like, you know, back in the early days, like July, because like that's what it was.
Yes, please, madam.
No, just we have to say Gosha. It's one of my friendships, honestly.
خدا برکت کنه دایش. خدا. Hey, but see how beautiful our Afghan people are, how generous they are, right? Now, if you see all these hearts being thrown, like look at how big wholeheartedly we are. It's just hearts just pumping out. When me and the boys do this thing, no one puts one heart up. It's only us who like, just imagine there are some hearts coming up just to inspire ourselves. But you know, John, when you said about the big red flag, didn't you know about the hammer and the chisel? The big red flag? No, you didn't know that? Okay. Okay.
You know, like this isn't what you're asking, but actually, I think one of my favorite things about our friendship is that like you would, if you looked at like Blingistan and you looked at me, especially me before, you wouldn't have guessed how much we click and how much we have in common because it's like there's a combination of like rebel and love in both of us, and sometimes you see more of one in one and more of one in the other. But yeah, I'm taking everything you say back to love for her for a while. Whatever you say to me, I'm like, but this is why I love her. But it's true. Like, yeah, I saw the chisel and the hammer, and you wouldn't think that would be like, I would be such a massive fangirl of that by looking at me at the orphanage, you know, like it doesn't always match for everyone, but that's the thing is all of this matches together. If you really love Afghanistan, then you're going to turn into someone who wants to fight for the peace for it and the liberty for it, and you become a fighter because of that same love, right? So like little people who love to hug little Afghan kids and like, you know, it's a more, I don't know, people like might look at that as like wholesome, but to me, in as an Afghan, part of your being wholesome is fighting and being a real voice and like saying what has to be said. So it's not like what people imagine, that anyone who likes Afghan roses and Afghan babies wouldn't have anything in common with the hammer and the axle and all of that. It's actually the opposite. I think as Afghans, that's how we have to love.
Fair enough. Very well said. Muhtarama, Maestro
Don't do that.
Kamal Jan, do you want to add anything into this?
Well, I would like to just say that there's one thing about spending time in Afghanistan, and there's another thing that I have in common with Miss Mina is what kind of time we spend. So it's not just loving where we're from and, you know, having such great lived experiences there and a 3D experience. It's also what we did. You know, we lived in houses and we walked around. That's the simplest way to put it. And I don't often meet people like Miss Mina. I mean, she's one of a kind in general, but just this essence part of it of living life in Afghanistan. We weren't coming and going. We were just properly living there. We sometimes walked, we sometimes took cars, we sometimes went in taxi, like, you know, and a regular life. And that's not easy to find, because that gives a certain foundation that makes these kind of conversations very easy. And why the first time we talked on the phone, it was like for, I don't know, 4 hours or something like that.
It was, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very well said. I do have to.
This is fun.
I do have to add that my first crush on Belingistan was that red flag. I was like, damn, that's in your face. I support that. That big red flag.
I don't think
that big red flag.
Of a Soviet flag anywhere. Are you talking
No,
about?
you don't.
You?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, that's a very strong statement. You know, it takes a lot of guts to actually go out in this era.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you know, so that takes a very pure heart as well, a very pure spirit, you know, strong, independent, pure spirit to go out and say, hey, this is me. This is what I believe. I don't care who does what. And that's how we were back home. Well, not as good as you guys do it, but or as good as you guys are. But yeah, we kind of had the same little attitude as we had. All right, thank you very much for this quick introduction of Diaspora Passing and your lovey-dovey friendship. Nam khuda. Let's get it into a little bit of okay, she's gone cold now again. Oh, freezing.
She's just giving us a dirty look. Oh, there she is. She's back.
I had to close out of something. It was bugging. Something was coming up on my phone.
Yes, stop touching the phone, okay? Stop touching. Just calm down, okay? Chill, relax. Husha. All right.
Thank you very much. Okay, what did I miss?
Now, what did you miss? Nothing. You haven't missed anything. Now we're just getting started. So the purpose of this episode was as per my last episode, we have started this new series of Art is Resistance, right? And I'm pretty well. I hope that you ladies did watch a little bit of it or listen to it. What did we mean by art is resistance, right? Mm-hmm. That because we from one perspective, I consider myself an artist as well, right? So for us, I don't really qualify to talk about serious politics issue, economical issue, social maybe, because at the end of the day, I'm from Afghanistan, I'm a human, okay, but politics and this and that, war, the art of fighting, the tactics, the diplomacy, this and that, I don't qualify. But what I do qualify to talk about, and I feel like I can talk about the future of it and how we can find solutions is through art, right? So when we were talking about art, we were like, maybe we should come to terms a little bit, you know, we should compromise for what has been forced on us as a regime or as a whatever, what has been forced on us, right? Which was out of our hand. Well, not really, but we won't go that far back. But now that it has happened, what can we do? So using the art as a medium, right? So what I said that maybe we should make some compromises because of the little bits of changes that has come into this whole regime from the past 25 or 6 years. Maybe we could use this as our leverage, you know. So as we talked about that, okay, they have allowed the robot to be played in private parties or weddings. Hey, okay, why not to just use the robot to at least make music, you know, to keep it alive. You know, if they don't allow murals to be painted of pictures on the walls, but they do allow text, then just use your graffiti or painting skills to go and do that, but give your own to it as well, so they can see, okay, this is what art actually does as well. You know, so maybe we have all these little cracks in the wall to actually get through inside this whole system as well, because I think art can only defeat such extreme or radical systems by going and being spreaded like a virus actually inside the system, you know. But you have to make compromises. Now, what do you ladies think? Is it fair to say this? Is it fair of our perspective, which I just said, or we spoke about it on our last episode? Or do I lack anything in this? Is there any of aspects of it that I don't really understand, so I haven't really talked about it? Maybe, right? Because I have learned a lot from your episodes, your sessions from Diaspora Passing, especially your last one. That was phenomenal. I learned a lot from that young lady, Farah. And that was beautiful. So then, of course, my master here reminds me of a lot of things that I lack as well, and I do accept that. It's hard sometimes. It's hard, of course, but yes, I do think about it not once, not 10 times, but many times to see why perhaps this is right. Okay. And before I ask you ladies this, I have to mention that the name of this podcast, Voices from the Mountains, credit goes to Shamuel John, because when I was doing no, I have to say this, otherwise known as Gulunim Tana Meshalega. When I was doing my last podcast, Raw Kabul, Shamuel had written a song called Aspushta Ko Amade, and it's a freaking beautiful, straight to your face punk song, right? So when after like months after that, when I decided to do this, I got inspired by that. So yeah, all credit to Shamuel John. Just so you know, yeah? Okay? All right.
I would share it with you because the song idea came up from a conversation of ours, but I'm going to take this moment to say that what I noticed from your last live, the one thing that you might not be noticing is how women would feel, or how minoritized groups would feel, or how minoritized women would feel, right? Where it's not exactly as simple as your
making
position.
it work.
Yeah.
And how? If you could elaborate a little bit more to people like me.
Because I don't know if necessarily Robab can be played by a woman at private parties. Do we know that that's for sure? I don't know that. You know, if getting shut out of certain places, why wouldn't they also be shut out of this one little token of music that's allowed, you know? So it's still there's still uncertainty for groups that you are not a part of.
And do you want to go a little bit more in depth, like which groups are we talking about? What do we mean by groups that I'm not a part of?
Okay.
I'm a very true blood Afghan, right? So then I'm like, which part am I not? Which group am I not a
Right.
uh,
From
part of
man,
yet?
self-identify as a man, if I'm correct, right? And second,
Hopefully, yeah.
second, you
And a dolphin. Okay. Yes, please.
are also a Pashtun, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two groups that would get
Okay.
more allowances to do certain things, both men and Pashtuns. And then
Okay. Sorry?
double whammy when it's both. You're both a man and a Pashtun. So right now, in terms of like the hierarchy of a system, you have the highest place in Afghanistan, the most privileged.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Minajan Khorake, what do you have to add? I can see you just building there something inside you.
No. I'm just really appreciating that she said that. Yeah, it's true. It's like there's no room for I don't know, just like seeing what happens, which is what a lot of people are able to say. Like she said, it's only a repeat, but when you're coming from a place where it is an optional to have a less, enjoyable life, but making it work for you, that's coming from a place of having that option, right? Whereas with other people, it's like absolute privilege. Yeah, with other people, it's going to be literally my ethnicity, how I look as soon as I go out on the street is a threat to my life, period. So it's very difficult for someone like that to say, well, maybe I can, look forward to playing Rabab once in a while. They're just like, not only is it unlikely that they're ever going to be allowed to do that, but it's like the actual instruments that are part of their particular culture and community, this group is trying to wipe that out of existence and say that's not even Afghan, period. We just want to get rid of all of you. So the threat is so intensely high. It's not even just like they might kill me. It's like they're actually trying to wipe out the existence of me and my ancestors and everyone else, our history. Last time they burnt, as we learned on our conversation with Badajan, like they were burning the history book. So it's hard to even get there. That I would imagine it's impossible to get in that headspace, because I know even just as a woman, it's hard to get in the headspace of like, okay, let's just wait and see, right? Because we already know. So if you were a woman and a minority, I can't even imagine how it must feel to even hear people like leave room for possibility.
Okay, so let me just add this in there. Maybe it could help us to talk about it more. When we talk about art as an artist, right? Yeah. Most of the things that an artist does, it's on inspiration and imagination, right?
Yeah.
So for an artist to be always so literal and realistic, that's realism. It's a very specific genre, realism, right? Mm-hmm. But most of the other arts, it's more to do with imagination, maybe being optimistic or pessimistic. It depends on the artist, right? It depends on their own personal situation, for sure. But for us, time being, I personally don't have any space to be pessimistic, because it's all gone wrong anyways. It's all gone bad, So to be pessimistic or negative now, it's to give these people something to feed on, So for us, maybe as an artist, as just an everyday Afghan, right? It's good to be optimistic to a point where it's all just imagination, and maybe with that path, revolutions started from these imaginations. If it was realistic, you would say, okay, we are a group of 100. We will be crashed by 100,000.
Well, maybe
it doesn't make sense.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like maybe we just change how we say it, where it's like rather than what would we make out of the permissions they give us, I would rather hear we're gonna have art anyway. And so that is gonna mean different things to different people, but it doesn't give the attention to this group, right? I don't want to work around the group's theories, and I'm sorry, I cannot be positive when it comes to what's coming out of their mouths if they're able to even create words. Like, I don't want to depend on what they say. I think the best case scenario is we build that wall from, like you said, imagination to what people are trying to call the new, what people are trying to create into our reality. Then the answer is just art exists regardless of what's going on in art.
Yeah.
It exists, period. Yeah. Then I feel a surge of like positivity and hope across the board. Doesn't matter, woman, man, ethnicity, doesn't matter, because I know that in the first round of the Taliban was our worst. What we're fearing right now is a repeat, right? So we have seen it, and we know that art existed that whole time too. We know that stories were told, and we know that poems were written, and books were written, and art was created, and music was even created. Like, it happened, and it will happen. People were watching movies. They made it happen. So we already know that it's not going to die. But I would rather not talk about it in a way where it's like, let's see what they do. It's more just like, we're going to do it no matter what.
Regardless.
No matter where. Yeah.
Now, if we consider this, as Shamuel pointed out, that women may not be able to, for an example, women may not be able to play rabab, right?
Right.
And when you have a wedding, if music is allowed in a wedding, I doubted that they would allow men to go and play in a women's section, right?
Right.
This is a small example, right? This gives the women a leeway, at least, right? Okay. Now, when we consider about, okay, the minorities, right? Now, if I forget what tribe I come from, because even my tribe, even my ethnicity, it depends where I am. If I go Kandor or Helmand, I may not be really that privileged, because I am from somewhere else. My tribe is something else, so there are those levels of privilege for sure. But when we only want to focus on minorities, and how do we, if not guarantee, but be hopeful for their safety or for their existence and for their culture, right? Maybe we, as so-called privileged people, can start this initiative to carry their culture and their art and work that, expose that, until a point where that lives, and those people do get to come back and work with us. Because the only thing I'm hopeful is about, we're still dealing with humans. We're still dealing with souls. We're still dealing with spirits. Okay.
That's true.
Now, if we consider that somebody has been brainwashed, okay, yes, maybe a lot of us have been brainwashed in different, let's say, styles or education levels or whatever, right? But we cannot give up on humans, right? So maybe with continuing that culture of our minorities and art of theirs, for us people, for the so-called privileged ones, to carry that until we teach these ones that, hey, you see this? This is Afghanistan as well. This is Afghan as well. Okay, now if you like this, well, this is not my work. This is this person's work. This is an artist's perspective, right? Shamuel, I think you want to say something.
That's what ally is, that's the definition of an ally, or some people call it co-conspirator, is taking your privilege and using that as kind of a shield and helping others. I do want to say that I think art being made can be done in different ways right now. You know, like if someone doesn't want to make murals of texts, then maybe their art won't be seen, but they can still make it. You know, that's still not everything has to be done with the permission, you know, because some people's art doesn't fit, and you can't force an artist to make, you have to make it with these rigid rules, right? When you want to make something as an artist, it's something from the soul, so make it however it is. But some of it might just have to stay behind closed doors for now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, from an artist's perspective, I really respect that, and it makes a lot of sense. You cannot force an artist to do something that they don't want. Of course, you know, that goes everything against an artist's ethics. But how do we infiltrate this system then? How do we do it? And all I'm talking about is internally. Outside, I don't really care. I don't know. That's a whole different world outside, right? But inside Afghanistan, how do we infiltrate in this system to try to change at least one of these people? At least one person who listens to a tula at night alone. How do you give him that kick in the butt? Hey, do it more. Do it in the open. It's not that bad. Come on.
I have an idea that I hope in my list of like, let's hope things don't go as bad as they could. Like, it's a thought I've been having with myself that because it's not like 96 to 2001 in this world is not the same. Like, we've got social media, right? And I know that forget about the leadership. That's a load of hypocrisy. They're going to be doing shots and listening to music and I 100% guarantee it. But the foot soldiers who really truly have been trained to believe what they've drank the Kool-Aid, they've listened to what has been said to them for their whole life, so that's what they think is real, right? They are going to be, they're going to be sent to spread this message, right? But like you said, in them is a soul. Going back to the fact that this isn't the same world as 96 to 2001, these guys have been on the internet. These guys have been used to having this kind of exposure. What we need to do as diaspora in particular is load constantly with Afghan culture, Afghan music, Afghan life, to just like shove this down the internet's throat so that these guys, as they're connected to the rest of the world, start to see glimmers of what country they're standing in and what is, what is behind this. Because they're all like excited right now, and like in the first few minutes, it's all just a little bit of excitement, and already they're discovering the swans at Bamyan and like swimming on those and going into the amusement parks and motor parks. That's physically discovering it. But even if their leadership cuts everything, generally off, foot soldiers are always foot soldiers, right? They're different. They're in their own world, and eventually they're not robots. They're going to think for themselves. They're going to feel for themselves. And I think that if they maintain their curiosity, which they already are expressing, we can add to that from outside with art, with music, with things that really connect to where they physically are. And I don't know, literally, I'm gonna like dedicate posts to them, like, hello Taliban foot soldiers, this is a song for you. And really just give it to them. Like, if they're surrounded by it, not necessarily physically in Afghanistan, but from the outside world, which they will be, unless I just think cutting them off from connection to the rest of the world is so unlikely compared to the first round of the Taliban. So what you said about them having souls is something we need to remember. Is we don't need to worry about only the leadership. We really need to think about the foot soldiers who are out doing the work that they're going to find boring. Battle is one thing, but day-to-day life is when it's going to hit them and when they're going to crave what human beings innately crave, which is simulation, right?
Exactly.
Art,
Say that again.
no, I was going to say that at the end of the day, art it's supposed to provoke thinking, right? So if in a year someone is making art that is speaking to Talib foot soldiers and provoke thought within them, maybe even that starts undoing things. I do believe that can be something, because at the end of the day, these boys didn't exactly choose their life.
No, everything is new to them, right? I mean, but also too, like there are so many contradictions, guys. Like, and it's not only hypocrisy to yell, which I'd love to yell about, but I don't yell about it all day. It's also a contradiction in in the fact that they just haven't been exposed to things in the right in the, and it's not that they haven't been exposed to it all. Some things they've just been, it's been defined differently for them, right? So, for example. Right. In the Taliban propaganda, there's music. And these guys are going to click and be like, that's music.
Exactly.
That's music I can't listen to. But wait a minute, how come that music is banned and the Taliban music is fine? Like, it's going to click for a lot of people. They do a lot of the things. Someone's going to stop and say, wait, if protesting is not okay, how come we can protest to say we don't want protest? Like, these are eventually going to click for people. And we can, I love that you're so adamant about seeing a bright side. I think that we can say that that's a bright side, that we can put some trust in the fact that these souls have been so sheltered that a little bit of time when it's not busy with war and fighting and it's having a day-to-day life, that soul, that's when we have the best potential for them to see so much of what people have blocked from them.
Yeah, just to be clear, why am I so adamant on looking at the bright side, right? It's because, as I said earlier, how much more wrong or bad it could go. We have seen 96, right? We have seen 96, and we still think that is the same thing, right? So going further than that, if we are not hopeful and we don't look at as there are bright ways, it's going to create more darkness inside us, and that would reflect onto them as well.
Oh, yeah. Our energy is incredibly important. Yeah. I agree.
And them isn't only this regime and their foot soldiers, them is the people who are actually on the ground, right? Now that's them, right? So if we sit outside and cry about it and always be sour and sad and angry about it, what would they think?
This is why I love you both. This is why I love you both. This is exactly what I'm so used to saying alone. I love it.
Yeah. So when you go back to that whole leadership, forget about them. There's no coming back for them. They've had their chances. As a human, as a soul, as a whatever, they chose this. They have 100%. Chosen this. They have been cooked. They're already cooked. Okay, they cannot be changed. And I've been very open about it. I still will be open about it. I don't want another war. That's why I don't really look anything towards that whole resistance thing. No, I don't want any more war. Okay? Mm-hmm. Be it whatever that is. We can't afford any more killing and dying of our people. I don't care if Talib dies. I don't give a shit. Right? But because they have chosen to do that, right? They have chosen to do that. Now, I come from a very, very long line of military family. Very long line, right? And I even served. So I know about this whole mentality of a soldier, right? Right. They say that wars get started by leaders, but it's won by soldiers.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. And that tells us a lot. Now, collateral, I don't need my people to be collateral. I don't care if they come in and blow some buildings and we can build it again. I don't care about that. The parks can be built again. You know, back in 2001 or 2 or 3 or 4, when I went there, the whole Borebola was dry as fuck. It was just dust.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure you guys have seen it later, 10 years later, started to go green.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very small example, right? We can bring all that back, but we cannot bring a child's father. We cannot bring a mother's child. You know, we cannot bring that, okay? Now, if people are going to fight, okay, fight in a way where there's no collateral. Can you guarantee that? No, then don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Okay, don't do it. Unless everyone in Afghanistan stands up and says, we want to fight, then go for it. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing all over again. It wouldn't give us the chance. There's 20 years of all these youngsters who grew up, worked hard for their education, for their art, for their own growth. It's going to go wasted again. Who would they fight for? Who would they work for again? Right? So that's one thing about it. This is why I want people, as I said, to go in the system. Yes, Samuel John, please. I know you're charged up. Tell me.
Some people would rather die free than live in chains.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Some people, then they have to do it in a way which shouldn't kill the other one. I posted the picture of that guy who's famous for the tank man, right? One person in China stood up against a whole battalion of tanks, right? He didn't really pull 10 people with him or go and yell from a crowd, hey, you suck. No, he just went and stood there. He took his own responsibility of his own life, and he went there and he stood in front of the tank, right? This would be very cowardly, just like Taliban, very cowardly. Just like Ashrar in the 80s, right? That you would use the normal people whom you don't even know if they support you or not, if they want this or not. You will use them as a shield. This is the same thing. If somebody wants to fight, go do it. Do not let the impact of it to anyone else, unless they say so. Okay, you want to use my house to fight? Do it. I'm with you.
But how
You know
often I don't know, that sounds like a bit of a utopian fight, because I don't know any army that has only people who that was what they wanted to do. Like, yes, there will be some, right, who that is in line with what they wanted. But, you know, the Taliban are there because we talk about this all the time, Shamuel and I. A lot of them are just simply poor. Some of them were taken. Some of them were, so they didn't do what you said, which is they chose to be in it, right? So if they didn't all choose it, then, I mean, how can we say from the resistance standpoint who chose it and who didn't choose it? Because what is the choice also? It's like the choice is sometimes for some people be worried or maybe have real reason to believe that these guys are going to round you up and do some kind of horrific torture and try to wipe you out, which they have done, right? So that choice thing is a really nice idea to have, but I don't think that necessarily it's just like, yes, I want to fight or no.
Yeah, but we can go back to Shamuel's beautiful point that some people want to live free, right? They want to fight, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to fight, now we're talking individuals taking responsibility, right? That I want to fight, regardless of the side which is forcing you, you fight.
Right.
Right? So
for those ones,
Yes. I mean, look, when I started my band, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started my band, right? I took the full responsibility. I didn't bring in a crowd taking photos and say, hey, they say the same thing. No. It was me standing in front of the mic, diplomats looking at me, and I was like, fuck you.
On an individual level, I totally see what you're
Right.
saying. And just on the grand scale, it's impossible. There's always going to be there's always going to be at least the pressure, if not the get over here and jump in front of me and do this. That's just how people do it. That's in essence, that's what the leaders are doing in the first place, right? Is I want this, here, thousands of men, go get it for me, right? Like that's the whole concept.
Why do we think that a very weak army of Taliban just waltzed through Afghanistan? Why do we think that? Why do we? It's a fact they did, right?
They were handed Afghanistan.
Exactly. You know, if people wanted to just fight, if people wanted to fight, as Shamuel said, that some people just don't want it and they want to fight for freedom, right? This couldn't have been that easy. Every village could have fought. But why did they not fight? Because of collateral. They didn't want it for their people to die. Isn't that the case?
Oh, you know, but I feel like you're coming at this as if there was a process of decision making, and there wasn't. There hasn't been that time to say, will we fight or will we not?
No, there was. There has been. There has been. Yes.
No, because the way all of the past few months have happened, the everyday person was presented with a set of information that is different than what actually happened behind closed doors. So they didn't know that they had to stand up and fight because they were seeing it presented to them in the fucked up propaganda media way.
Why?
And that's why people are getting up. Now it's under how the powers did this and how our ex-government did this, and then people got up.
When we hear the weather forecasts, right? There is a possibility of heavy showers, right? Of heavy showers, okay? There might be a possibility of heavy flooding. So make sure you have enough supplies at home. Make sure you have all the sandbags covering all those areas which the water might seep in. This will be told, right? So we have a little bit of idea what could really go wrong. Okay. Now we had foreign powers making deals, right? We had our ex-corrupt fucking government from start to bottom, either not understanding or behind closed doors, they had made deals as well, obviously, right? But the people, right? Me being away, thousands of miles away, 2 years ago, when I heard about the deal, I was like, don't do it. This is going to come back. They're going to get you. They're going to get in. Remember,
I think you're seeing it too much from your perspective. You have, from an outside Afghanistan, that's what you do instinctively, is you analyze the situation. When people are just living their life, that's just not something they all do, and that's not natural. You're not sitting there right now getting prepared in case Australia is taken over. It's just not something that would cross your mind because you're living your daily life. But it's a possibility there too, I suppose. Like, I agree with you that things had been looking bad for a long time, but the deterioration of Afghanistan's security was well before, like, I mean, it's been deteriorating since I arrived. I arrived in 2005 and it was great. It never got better. So when is it that they were supposed to prepare and say, like, okay, decision has to be made today. Am I going to fight or not fight? And you've decided that they all chose not to fight. I think that's unfair because the deterioration was slow and steady from a resident's point of view. It was not sudden.
I will give you an example of somebody that Shamuel is very supportive of. That commander, what's his name?
Alipur.
Sorry, I can't. Alipur. When did he start resisting?
Years ago.
When? Years ago. Why?
Because his
Why
people
did he start years ago?
back. His people were under attack.
Exactly. 20 years of Taliban was a threat to everyone. Why didn't everyone become so awake and understand that, okay, this guy did this, probably he knows something, we're going through the same thing. Something is coming up. We know that, as you said, security has been deteriorating. It never improved.
You're still seeing it from your perspective. Like when there are levels of trust that you're ignoring. You didn't have it, but a lot of people did. In their they had trust. They did. Absolutely, people had trust. Yes, they did.
They
Trust in your. You're not even letting me finish the sentence about what they had trust in. They had trust in the fact that, okay, the Americans aren't here to help us. Like, they know that, but they trusted that the security would remain at least enough that they could continue their day-to-day. They at least trusted that the world was anti-Taliban and would protect them from that, because that's what the world said. They at least trusted that the government had, like, well, no one trusted the government, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just impossible for you from outside to not see it, but it is very possible when you're living your daily life, like to literally not be prepared for that level of abandonment. There's no way that you can tell me that all these people knew this was going to happen and they chose to just remain. I think if what you were saying was even remotely true, why is the mass exodus right now? Why is everyone trying to leave?
It's a sort of oxymoron that they didn't trust the government, but they trusted the security. It doesn't make sense.
No, I didn't. You're equating it to two different things. They felt that they would be protected enough to live their life the way it was going, because it had been 2005, it was enough. 2006, it was enough. 2007, and it was enough. So what I'm telling you is that in 2021, for you to expect everyone to have this mass conversation amongst themselves about will we resist or not is ridiculous.
Not in 2021, but in 2019, they should have. 2018, they should have. We all knew that the Americans would never
Afghanistan for not having been prepared for this?
No, I think that's why you can look at the Alipur situation and use it on a look at it through that lens, because certain groups in Afghanistan benefited from what has been in power. Why would they get up? The reason why Alipur and everyone around him got up is because the government was directly attacking them. The police, the army was directly attacking them. I'm happy that other groups weren't attacked at the same level, but that is the kind of space that allows people to just be comfortable with the corrupt government. How many times have I talked to an Afghan, it doesn't matter what age, where they just accept corrupt government as something that's happening? And while that might be indicative of how many years of corrupt government we've had to normalize it to that level, that unfortunately a repercussion of that is that sometimes we're like, well, anyway, they're corrupt, like they're doing some weird shit in Doha, let them, like, whatever is going to happen, we'll see. They're always doing weird things.
Yeah,
because they're the
100%. Word for word, I heard that the whole time I was there from people in all different places.
So for the time being, if we just put this all aside, what could have been done, because now that's not done. You know, what could have been done, should have been done, hasn't been done. Now we're here, right? And going back to our whole art argument, especially with women. I know about the initiative that you ladies and some others have helped out to get jobs as in training for tailoring and sewing and all that stuff. You guys have helped them. You guys have funded their equipment and training and all that for them to find an alternate way of living and work, right? So how is there a chance, is there opportunity, or is there a way for the women artists as well so they don't lose their art, maybe not to the complete erasal level, but to continue with their art and do something with it as well. For now, for the time being, acceptable in the system, which has been forced on us.
I think you can live an artful life all the time if you choose to. You can make life in art. And at least I can see with the women that we're speaking to with this fundraiser, I mean, just the detail that goes into preparing the space for this. You can chime in, Mina John, that like just picking this part of the how the course will look, or adding this little detail here, or what's the name, that even is artful in and of itself, right? So I think you can take the opportunities that are afforded to covertly make art, right? I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, and in secrecy too. I mean, I think when you asked if they can make a living off of it, that is, time will tell. Maybe they can continue to make, I don't know, rugs, and we could at least, even though the economy is collapsed there essentially already, maybe it could be sold abroad and bring things into them. But it would be surprising if that was something that would happen with a government that's not recognized, with the way that their attitude is. There's a lot of things against that, but yeah, we can definitely hope that that's a possibility, that Afghanistan continues to give in the form of art and make a living in there.
Providing artistic assistance, teaching the young kids, girls and boys, through social media, through internet, still being optimistic when there's internet still there, right? And people can be on the internet. Are we prepared to do that? Is that a good idea? Teaching people how to draw, teaching people how to sketch, teaching the kids how to play music, how to write poetry. Are we prepared to do that?
No, go ahead.
Yes. No, I think
I was just gonna say,
I think
out. You know, we just have to keep waiting and seeing. Like, is the internet going to be, for the most part, free, like an open internet, so that courses on drawing not Islamic calligraphy is allowed for these people to watch? You know, like, can children have access to that or not? For example,
I truly like, and I'm definitely not taking it back to politics because that's not fun, but like, I don't think they thought it through. So that's one of the major reasons that, again, reinforcing the fact that this was quite a surprise for many people, I think, including the Taliban, that it happens suddenly. So because of that surprise factor, the planning is already in place. You see them scrambling, right? So maybe that scrambling can work to our favor, where they're like, oh, everyone's watching, we have to do like one or two things that make them happy, because at the same time we need their money. And so that's another new factor, right? Because they need to qualify for funding. That could work in artistic favor as well. Maybe that's something to advocate for, that they I mean, good luck, but maybe that's something that will happen as a result of them trying to impress their donors that they're begging.
trying to save. Yes.
No, I'm having a first time thought where, you know, even if the Taliban come from like a very patriarchal stance.
Yeah. Call them Teletubbies.
Say teabags. Okay, teabags.
So they are known as an institution that perpetuates patriarchy, right? So if, for example, women really cannot do anything outside the home, the beauty of this, or that's kind of a weird way of putting it, but a benefit of that is that there are already things societally embedded in a patriarchal culture that are given to the women that are inherently artful. For example, cooking is an art. Sewing is an art. So if if at the worst case scenario, women are not allowed to go anywhere except for inside the home, in some ways, the things that are left that they can do themselves are art.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, haven't we seen that teabag foot soldier with the Gucci attire? That's
Really? I
art.
miss that guy.
That's art. Like during the Eid or any special
So's the
festives, it's not that
roses on your gun. So's the stickers on your
exactly.
gun.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. You can make embroidery on tombon and they would wear it, you know, and making embroidery is a very ethnical Afghan art, right? So
Yeah.
quickly, finally, this is very important for diaspora passing, right? I think was the Queen of Ice. Was it called Queen of Ice or Queen of what? I haven't really watched Game of Thrones that much, but was there something like ice thing, something? Or no, there's I think
The
Ice
Night
Queen.
Walker? Oh, she's completely gone.
Oh, she left. Okay, let me just turn this back
I think she
on.
can come back. I'm sure she can come back.
Okay. So I'm gonna turn on the comments as well for the last few moments that we have. People can ask questions from diaspora passing experts, or maybe me myself, an illiterate you. I can give you something maybe if you wanted to ask. But so for diaspora passing, all these refugees going into these, let's say, Western countries, first off, right? Okay, how do we try to help them to not get carried by the flood of becoming another, let's just say, brainwashed or insensitive diaspora? What steps can we take here?
Yeah, I don't want to say unfortunately, but I think that the current diaspora has so much growing to do themselves because of the lack of exposure and for very credible reasons. Like it's not a blame thing, but there's so much growing to do that it becomes very difficult to have that be your, you know, for diaspora to be your support, it has to be only in certain ways, but it can be a really great exchange. I think it can be great for both. I think if diaspora, takes the time to and rewind. When I say takes the time to get to know Afghan refugees or newcomers, before you speak, put away any kind of ideas that you have of their life experience and just say to yourself in the morning, in the mirror, before you go meet the refugee, I don't know jack shit about their life. And that, I think, will change the game. When Afghans in Afghanistan understand that they don't know how hard it's been to be diaspora, and they don't. I know they don't. They talk to me about it all the time. And then I give them a little story about, actually, it's not paradise. And, having those conversations. So they don't know. But more so, the diaspora doesn't know. And I think it's diaspora's instinct that, like, the way I will take care of you is to show you, but at the same time, I know your life because I'm Afghan. But being Afghan does not qualify you to know what the Afghan experience in Afghanistan is. So if you just hear that and say that to yourself, I think we can create a beautiful bridge where the Afghan refugees this time will have a nice support system of people who care about them and don't want them to face going through some things that our families went through, which is like, overly thanking where you are, for just losing the sense that of being so overcome with gratitude for the safety that you forget while we were here in the first place. And that's something that happened to my generation. I was born in Afghanistan and raised here, but like a lot of us are just so like, oh, thank goodness for this opportunity, and that's great. But I think that we can save, and that's great to be thankful, but it's deleted so much of our connection to Afghanistan. Afghanistan was abstract for us. And what we can do is make sure that this next generation doesn't grow up that way by exchanging stories. This is what diaspora life is like. This is what to look out for. this is what you deserve. Yay, she's back. So I think I'll just finish that thought that I think the bridge is absolutely possible, and I think it just comes with putting our the idea that we already know everything on both sides. If we shelf that, I think we can really be there for each other.
Beautiful, beautifully said, Shamal. The frozen one.
Oh, yeah, that's the word you're looking for.
The cold one.
The night walker.
The ice queen. Let's just keep it Disney. The ice queen. The ice queen. Disney. Okay.
So apparently my iPhone, it was in direct sunlight, so it got too hot and it shut down.
Are you sure? Are you sure it was the sunlight? You sure?
Ooh,
Whoa! Calm down. Chill. Hold your horses. So, Shamal, our last topic for today, unfortunately, just because midnight was my deadline by Khorek Emine, so I don't want to.
Although I'm not very sleepy, this is a great conversation.
Riled up.
عمال اتصلی هستی خوب معلومه که نمی‌دونم جای مجال گفتی خلقی. So, as I asked Khorek Emine about how do we save the new refugees who are going to the Western countries to not get carried away in the flood of our so-called diaspora, how not to get carried away. What would you say about that? What would your ways be, or what would you suggest to them? What are the do's and don'ts for the diaspora and the refugees?
Are you asking in terms of like not get caught up in a Western life?
Exactly. See, that's what the literate person will word it like. I have to go around the bush. I have to go around the bush to explain something.
I just want to make sure that I'm not saying it in an aggro way, because these kind of conversations.
No, ma'am.
Don't worry. When you were frozen, I said nobody knows shit about anybody. So stop acting like you know about the Afghan experience. I said it, but I think it goes both ways. So
good. Yeah. Okay. So very quickly, I have this conversation with a lot of people. I've been having it for 15 years, where if I have lived in the West, maybe I know something about the West that you don't, right? With all due respect. When people in the global South talk about the West in a way that they can both be snarky about the West and be not want it, at the same time, they forgive it in a lot of ways. Oh, like I was having this conversation yesterday. Oh, well, in Uzbekistan, the income is so low. That's why the quality of life it's so cheap to, for example, buy cigarettes, buy a kilo of tomatoes. Sure, you can technically make more money in the West, but you also have higher expenses. So all it is a situation, right? So things like that, don't idolize the West in this way just because you've never lived there. Once you live there, you'll understand how we complain about systemic failures, racism, prejudices, and how absolutely miserable living in the West is. I have so many friends who, sorry, I have to be blunt about it, because it's like people don't understand it until they live there. I have a group of friends who I knew in Kabul who now live scattered across Europe, and we speak about how 15 years ago I used to say, do not idolize the West. It's not the way you think it is. There's a lot of problems. Our problems are different, right? Like the 7 years that I lived in the US, or the 6 years that I lived in Russia, no one was bombing things near me. Yeah, that's true. But the style of living is so different to Afghanistan that it's actually to the point of dehumanizing. It dehumanizes you. Not only how you're treated as refugees and immigrants, but the day-to-day life. Like me and Mina always complain about Western administration.
Constantly. Yeah.
Like bureaucratic stuff is so fucking complicated, and it's so unnecessary to be this way. And that's indicative of the type of people that's kind of like the culture of the West, like a generalized culture of the West, is that people are cold. People are cold. The way that you're used to smiling at someone at a store and calling them Uncle John and things like that, that does not happen in the West. And once you start losing the 10 or 15 or even 2 experiences per day that affirm your humanity and affirm your culture, they go away, they disappear. You start being like, I'm not that happy anymore. I don't feel good. Because those are the things that make life worth living, especially in Afghanistan with a place that has so much struggle already embedded in its everyday experience. So this is like, in a very quick way, what I would tell Afghans who are newly coming: do not idolize the West and their culture. Do not try and assimilate to it, because this is one of the beauties of being Afghan, is the fact that you walk into a shop and you call someone Koko John. That is beautiful. That's inherently part of our culture, and it makes life a little bit easier. Every single moment of life doesn't need to be absolutely devastating, right? And that's what someone with a lot of struggle can see. So keep that up. Don't fall into the trappings of the West like that. As for the other way around, the diaspora shouldn't ever think that they understand anything in general about Afghans, but don't try and don't act like you know their life in Afghanistan. Don't try and act like you know the situation in Afghanistan. Listen with an open heart, and don't center yourself. That's always really important. And maybe take a moment to question yourself and your identity. Maybe you're a person who grew up in the West completely and has never walked into a store and called someone Koko John. Do you maybe want to think about how that could affect your life, and how being a little bit more grateful or being a little bit more warm-spirited is actually attached to your soul, because your blood is Afghan. So maybe have a little moment with your own identity and think about the differences between you and a newly arrived Afghan refugee. Why are they the way that they are, and how is that different to you, and how maybe did you get the shittier end of the deal?
That's a really good point right there. I think just like the exchange is definitely, it's important on both ends. Like, stop idolizing, and also then stop, I don't know, I suppose, like projecting, right? Like onto Afghans that come. But like also too, what you just said about, like, stop as diaspora and think. I think this is something really important that you said, because I don't think diaspora often enough stops to think of how many things are better besides fruit and mantu. You have to go beyond that and realize that
chess is the beautiful chess.
Yes.
Lots of things, like I said. But yeah, even day-to-day life, I think it just doesn't occur to the diaspora often enough that as despite what you see on the headlines, despite poverty, despite no electricity, despite her street harassment, my God, my own personal list would be long. Yeah, I would see a gajdom in my room, and like, despite all of this stuff, the overall how your heart feels, just because of your surroundings and just because of where you are, it can actually mean that you actually did have a better life. And that's really hard for people to comprehend when they're making their decision from headlines, right? So it is possible. At least think of that, and maybe it will be such a gift to you to talk to newcomers who will help you feel that.
Bravo. Thank you very, very much.
This is such
John?
a good question. The subject.
It was a great question.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. Thank you very much. Yes, I know. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Conversations with my friends often, like, I just have to spit this out because I just, maybe it's useful for someone. I was speaking to my very good friend who immigrated in the past 5 years to Germany, and we've known each other since we were kids. And she was saying, you know, the thing that this is going to be hard for some people to hear. The thing that has hurt me the most about I can't take away the fact that I'm assimilating to German culture is the fact that my rebellious Afghan spirit and my courage, my bravery have lessened. This is an Afghan woman.
Wow.
In Germany.
Well, there are so many things. There are so many things that I would really love to talk to you two ladies, experts from my personal perspective, to talk about. And that's one of the things that Shamuel just mentioned. And there's heaps of other things. If hopefully you two could give us this privilege again in the future to come to this platform with me, and I could ask these other things and learn, I would really love that. I would be really thankful. Hopefully, with your busy schedule, you could make it happen. Hopefully. Bakhair, inshallah, bakhair. Inshallah, bakhair. Somebody told me that you should say inshallah, then bakhair, you have to say that. So for today, before Khurake Mine would just bang her head back on the flag and sleep, and just fall asleep, or before Shamuel could go the ice queen again. Last takeaways for today. And a very quick sponsor for today, which Miss Mina Khurake Mina reminded me of my first sponsor for this platform, Voices from the Mountains, is Karim Morgir. Now, Karim Morgir, if you guys don't know about it, Karim Morgir is a very well-known, legendary person in Kabul, where you could go to him in Sharakona, the old city they have one on. You could go to him. He will give you the permission, dam meteta, and then you can deal with Gajdom and more and whatever. You can just hold it in your hand, and he will demonstrate. He will give you a demo. He will damn you, give you the permission, then he will put your hand in there, and you're good. So, Oghay Karim Morgir today is our sponsor. If anyone wants to be a reptile pet lover or enthusiastic, please visit Afghanistan, Sharakona, meet Karim Morgir or his sons, and then you can carry scorpions, and you don't need to be so worried like Miss Mina was with the scorpions. They're cute, actually. They're very cute.
I truly embrace scorpion life too. I love it.
And with that, I have to say how disgusting and sold our poor earth, the dirt of our land has been, that the people have actually stolen even our scorpions to take it overseas. So just something for the people to know.
ISAF and those bases,
let's go.
Our guys, so they would take them and make those keychains. You remember? They would have them like engulfed in like this plastic and like take it home for a souvenir.
Not just that. Out of the whole chemical reaction, this is a very true story. You can ask the people from Mazar Sharif back in 2002. In 2002, they had found there is a certain area, a very famous area called Kotabak. Okay, Kotabak. Okay, now there are these apartments, residential government apartment. There was a leftover tank from the Soviet times, right? So as it went by the wars and blah blah. Now when the NATO and the Americans took over, blah blah, and because a lot of the steel from the tanks got taken to Pakistan in the first 5 years. Okay, just so we know. Okay, just so we know. When they moved that, they found a pair of scorpions. Okay, the mother weighed 7 kilos.
What?
And the child and the small one weighed 4 kilos. And people knew that this was a chemical reaction of all these wars and the weapons used, the bombings and whatnot, that had a chemical reaction on these really innocent creatures, unless you mess with them. And it was taken, it was smuggled out because they were so rare. Obviously they're rare. 7-kilo scorpion. So even that was smuggled. Just so we know that we have never had people who thought of their own country and the preciousness of their own dirt and land. Sorry for that. Okay, so not going away with a sad note here. I've got a lot of those stories. I have got a lot of those stories.
Really terrible images now of like gigantic war gashdom.
Yes, so beautiful. I know, so beautiful. My spirit animal. So last takeaways. Art is resistance. Quickly, short, what would you tell the people on the ground, the artists, especially women, especially minorities, and the privileged ones, if they could help out? Quickly, what would your giveaways be?
Mina, take it away.
I mean, on a personal note, I commit to being a part of art, and I equate art to culture because I think Afghan culture is so artistic. So to me, they're the same word. Our whole entire culture is things like poetry and music and writing and song and instruments, and just like it's just so overwhelmingly connected that to me that's who we are, because it's such a majority of what we practice, right? Like cooking, like you said, and just all of it is artistic. So I think that I personally commit to not only within my circle always keeping that alive, but to be as much of a voice for it as I can be. And I think enough of us are going to do it that it's impossible to kill from the outside. And as long as it stays in your hearts, it's untouchable. And in fact, I'm really confident that back to those foot soldiers, it's going to be so strong coming from the outside and from within you that we're actually going to do some healing in the process of people who were robbed of Afghan culture in the first place.
Beautiful, beautiful. Muhtarama Shamuel John, please.
Well, I think to everything you said, Mina, totally agree. But I do think existence as an Afghan is inherently artful. Like how we drop little sayings and how there's proverbs and just day-to-day conversations. And you don't have to do much to continue art in Afghanistan or as an Afghan. So it doesn't need to be, we don't need to panic as much as I kind of see happening. Oh, we need to preserve, we need to do that. No, it won't. We just will do it naturally. It's already so embedded in our day-to-day life and who we are.
That's a good reminder. I need to control my moments of panic. I do panic. I think I panic at their intention of deleting it, and I'm so shocked and offended that anyone would want to delete who we are. But you're right. The most important thing is that they can't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you very much. Sorry?
It's an active thought. So it's only natural that we would panic sometimes. I do it as well, but
the historical stuff gets me, but you're right. Like that can't kill our spirit. I mean, a lot of the stuff gets me, obviously, but yes, the most important thing to remember is, I never say the saying properly, but as long as one Afghan stands, there is always an Afghanistan.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's it. That's the whole gist of it. For my side, my humble opinion, very illiterate person here, I would just say, if you are privileged, if you consider yourself privileged, if you're counted as privileged, use that for the people who are being oppressed or who are in at most immediate threat from the extremists. As Mina John mentioned, this is in our history. This should be in our history. This is in our soul. Afghanistan cannot be Afghanistan without Hazara. Afghanistan cannot be Afghanistan without Pashai. Afghanistan cannot be Afghanistan without Nuristani. Afghanistan cannot be Afghanistan without Tajik, Pashtun, Uzbek, Aimaq, Turkmen. If you collect them all, that's Afghanistan. Otherwise, we are in pieces. We don't want that. So
And
if you have any opportunity,
the many religions as well. We wouldn't be Afghanistan without our Sikh community. We wouldn't be Afghanistan without our Jewish.
Oh yes, yes.
Not
Yes.
everything.
And women.
And women.
Of course. First women, Megan Madar Watan, the motherland. It never been said fatherland. It's motherland. So do help out each other. Do expose and promote each other's culture and art. Get into the system. Fight. Live one more day to fight one more day.
That's
That's
beautiful.
what I would say. Thank you
Art
very
is
much.
who you all are. Don't forget it. That's who you are.
That's
it's
it.
not just a painting on a canvas. It's literally your existence.
You are the art. You are the art. And you are the resistance. Your existence is the resistance. That's it. All right. All right. Tashakkur بسیار زیاد. Thank you very, very much. I'm honored, privileged. Nina John, sorry to keep you awake. Shamo John, sorry to wake you up this early. Love you too. Take care of yourselves. Hope to see you again. And please do keep us informed and teach us more with your diaspora passing. This is Voices from the Mountains, and our very, very well expert and knowledgeable ladies from Diaspora Passing. Please do catch them. Please do follow them. You will learn a lot. I have learned a lot. Love you all. Be safe.
You're a wonderful host.
Wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Take care of each other because no one else will. So take care of each other. Love you all. Thank you very much. Ciao. Until next time. Out.